So now we have a few minutes for questions. I want to acknowledge the vital presence of President Elliott Payne of our Minneapolis City Council here on behalf of all of the council members, I think, in the council, representing the council. Thank you for your presence here, sir. And I also want to say thank you to all of our staff members who've worked so hard to prepare us for this moment. They all are very, very critical to the work that we do every day, and we're grateful to them as well. And they may help us answering some of your questions. We have about 15 minutes for questions, and so I'll select the first person who I see. Tom?
Attorney General Ellison, there's been some success in getting the National Guard out of some states with lawsuits like this, but that was over a question of what the role of the National Guard is. It's pretty clear what ICE's role is. Is that going to make this legal challenge more difficult?
I don't think so, because ICE, as I think the Mayor Fry said very well, ICE has a statutory responsibility to do a certain job. Where our argument is they are exceeding that dramatically in unconstitutional, unlawful ways, violating our First and 10th Amendment rights, our equal sovereignty principle, and provisions of the Administrative Procedures Act. They have to obey the law themselves as they carry forth their statutory duties. We argue they're not doing that. They have to do their. They have to operate within the law and the Constitution. Yes, sir.
Hey, A.G. Ellison, A.C. Thompson from PBS Frontline.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Is this litigation aimed at restraining the use of crowd control weapons, less lethal weapons? Our whole crew got pepper sprayed today by federal agents. Are you aiming to do anything about that?
Well, one thing I'd like to ask you to do is to make a complaint and make sure people know what happened to you and your crew. Part of what our case is about is First Amendment protection. We believe that the federal government is persecuting the state of Minnesota because of our political views. And that goes, and look, the First Amendment, the press is protected by the First Amendment, and is vitally important in this moment when freedom of the press and every First Amendment right is under a threat by the federal government. So I'm going to ask you to let us know what happened. But yeah, we're trying to restore lawful conduct and make sure that the federal government operates within the boundaries of the law, which they're required to do. Yes, sir.
Attorney General, this is really something that's obviously really ramped up in the last week.
Right.
What kind of timeline can we expect on this suit? What are you looking at? What's your office kind of expecting?
Well, we filed a lawsuit already. It's on file right now.
As far as results go.
Well, it's hard to predict exactly what the court schedule will be, but we are anticipating quick action. I don't know, would any of my team members Brian, you want to respond to that?
Brian Carter, Special Counsel to the Attorney General. I don't know if we filed quite yet, but we do have a motion for a temporary restraining order that's going to be filed today. We're going to ask that the court hear that motion tomorrow morning. There's another similar motion in a separate but related lawsuit that's scheduled for that time. We're going to try and piggyback on that, and we're going to be asking for immediate relief.
Brian Carter, everybody. Way in the back.
St. Paul have any specifics on overtime for police officers in the way that Minneapolis has some stats?
Yeah, and we do know that we have had we've had to open our command center in order to monitor the city. We've had to have all of our officers in uniform, so that we do have information as well, and we'll be sharing more of that information in the days to come as it relates to this lawsuit.
Are those overtime costs likely to reach into the millions if this
Yeah.
continues?
Yeah. The question is, are those overtime costs for Minneapolis police and St. Paul police likely to reach into the millions? The answer is absolutely. We have normal core functions that we are tasked with doing on a daily basis. We are required to respond to 911 calls. We are trying to prevent murders from happening and carjackings from taking place. And by the way, the work of our police has been driving down those numbers substantially. Our police officers have performed admirably because they're not just doing their day-to-day job, they're also responding to countless 911 calls that people are being kidnapped, that agents in unmarked uniforms, in unmarked cars, are simply taking people off the streets that are American citizens. They're required to do the work to keep the peace. Our police officers are doing the work to keep the peace and to keep people safe. With 600 officers, we can't do all of those things all of the time. Not to mention, our officers are human beings, and therefore there is a point where they get tired. And when we've canceled all days off, when our chief is working tirelessly, and he deserves a ton of credit here too, where we've got officers that are working incredibly long hours and long shifts. The truth is that when you get to a certain point, you start making mistakes. Not because you're a bad cop, but because you're a human being. And so we need relief. We're asking the court for it. But the damage that we are suffering right now in Minneapolis is not limited to overtime costs. It's schools shutting down. It's businesses closing. It's people being afraid to go out and get groceries and therefore are going hungry. It's their inability to get money so that they're unable to pay rent. There is a snowball effect that is happening right here, and it's not just because we're in Minnesota and there's a lot of snow. The snowball effect is because what ICE is doing is intentional. This is intentionally putting us in a very difficult position that is not pro-business and is not pro-safety. The only thing that I can see it being is pro-politics.
Many people have been concerned about some of the tactics that have been used in the streets. We're talking about protesters, some very heavy-handed use of force toward them. Are you guys concerned about what you're hearing from the public in terms of not only
Go ahead.
Yeah.
or how people are being attacked, or what you saw at the high school? Can you elaborate on what you guys are hearing about?
Well, I'll let the mayors jump in here, but I can tell you that this whole lawsuit is partially driven, not exclusively, but partially driven by exactly what you just said. And again, look, ICE was operating here before this surge. We didn't file a lawsuit before.
That's right.
This is because of this surge. And quite honestly, it is because of the accumulation of so many stories that are just so far out of the range of normal. Some of y'all saw the videotape at Target. Some of y'all saw the videotape at Roosevelt High School. And I can tell you how many people who've called me and said, I am afraid to go to work. And I'm not talking about people who are non-citizens. I'm saying citizens. Because when a woman like Renee Good gets shot down, then everybody, citizens, non-citizens, are terrified. And I'll leave it to the mayors to fill in there.
I will say that the question is if we're hearing about it. We are absolutely. I mean, I think that we are really lucky here in our state, and specifically Minnesota, St. Paul, Minneapolis, is that we have a strong network of community organizers who've been working together. We hear almost every instance that happens, whether it's text to us personally and we're looking into it, or whether it's coming into our neighborhood groups. We are hearing it and we are seeing it, and we are looking into every time I get one, I inquire into it to see. But I think that what's more important in all of this is that it's not just the tactics that are being used. It's the attack on the American people who are citizens. I wasn't born here. I'm carrying my ID with me. I'm carrying my passport card and my ID with me all the time because I don't know when I'm going to be detained, when I'm going to be approached. The fact is that it doesn't have to, the tactics doesn't even at this point really matter, right? It's the fact that we are being attacked as American citizens right now, and we are hearing of it, and we are inquiring into it every single time we get something sent to us.
A.G. Ellison, there's a lot of lawsuits against the federal government that have been ongoing, led by your office. We also do have the backdrop of fraud investigations happening as well. Can you just speak about how resources are being doled out in the Attorney General's office and who's being dedicated to fighting the federal government?
Our Medicaid fraud unit is hard at work. We've prosecuted and convicted over 300 people since I've been Attorney General for Medicaid fraud, and other people in our office who do agency representation. They're working hard, but but the people who work on what I call federal accountability, they're busy too, because the federal government has tried to deprive our state of money that we're entitled to by statute, that has been appropriated to our state, and if we don't fight for it, we won't get it, and that will deprive the people of the state of Minnesota of resources and money that they deserve. And I'm talking about things like SNAP benefits, housing benefits, child care benefits, all kinds of benefits, National Institute of Health benefits, FEMA benefits that they've tried to unconstitutionally deprive us from. So Do we have resource pressure? Yeah, my folks are working really hard, harder than they should have to. But we're also, but we can walk and chew gum, and we're fighting fraud every single day. And let me just say this about fraud: anybody who steals from a program designed to help poor people is no friend of mine, and I'm all good to hold them accountable. And the federal government, they're doing all this stuff that we don't need them to do. I wish they'd do some more things we do need them to do. Now, I'm not talking about local federal officials. They're doing their job. We worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI to fight fraud, and I'm very glad with their partnership. What I'm referring to is the substance of this lawsuit right now. This is not what we need. We don't need this, but we need all the help we can get to help make sure that every dollar that the generous people of Minnesota devote to helping others gets to those others.
AG, just one more, if I may. If the courts do rule in your favor here, are you confident that DHS and the federal government will abide by the judge's orders? And what would be the next?
Yes, I am. No, I believe that they will abide by the orders, because I believe that anybody who stands below an American flag, lifts up their hand and swears an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States will abide by the lawful orders of a court. And if they don't, I want everybody in this room to know that they are the ones who are expressing contempt for the rule of law. Now, having said that, you asked the what if question. Well, there are ample ways to make a miscreant violator of a court order obey that court order. One of them is a contempt of court, but let's not jump there. Let's expect good conduct and obedience to law, and that's what we expect. That's what we expect we're going to get. And I think there's a possibility that Mayor Frey wanted to talk a little bit more about what your citizens are going through, or maybe you covered that already.
I can add on.
Yeah, but I just think well, you want to go for it?
Just in general.
Yeah, just like what people are dealing with, man.
Yeah. I mean, we don't use the word invasion lightly. What we are seeing is thousands, plural, thousands of federal agents coming into our city. And yeah, they're having a tremendous impact on day-to-day life. And it's a negative one. And whether that's kids that are trying to get to school or businesses that are trying to open, that's police officers that are responding to 911 calls. It's just about being able to conduct daily life right here in our city. And look, this is not about fraud. When you have a fraudster, you investigate, you charge, you prosecute, you hold the person accountable, and then they get put in jail as an individual. They get put in jail as an individual. You do not hold an entire community or an entire city accountable for the actions of the fraudsters. That's not a novel concept. That's just the way this works in American society, and we should be abiding by that.
Good, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And let me say thank you, Mayor Herr. Let me say thank you to the men and women of the independent press of America. Yep. The reality is that the work you do is critically important to get the word out to the people, and we are grateful for it. And with that, we're going to conclude, but I'm sure any of us will be willing to talk to y'all offline.